Well, morning, folks. As you can see, we got something a little bit different here today. We've got a M274 Mule. This was a vehicle made by the used by the Army and the Marine Corps and the Navy, because I believe this one may have been Navy. This was Chuck's M274 Mule, the same guy that has the M151 that I did all the work to. At any rate, we need to go ahead and we're going to do a little bit of work to that and show you what we're doing on that. So it's a little bit different today. So we're going to get her unloaded. And there we go. They're not very heavy. No suspension. But at any rate, we're going to go ahead and do a good inspection on this thing and see if we can't get her fired up. All right, well, we're going to start our walk around here. First thing we're going to kind of look at is just the overall condition. We got a little bit of a dent in the fuel tank. Well, a lot of a dent in the fuel tank there. Tires look good. Exhaust is a little rusty, a little beat up. And we've got some, looks like some oil residue here. Yeah, it's been leaking oil on the motor here. But in general, I mean, it's this one does have the electric start, and it is missing the battery. So you can see there's not an awful lot to these little critters. And you can see it, because it has the electric start, doesn't have the pull start cord anymore. It has all the hardware for the for a tow bar. And we've got the tow bar here. We've got the seat back here that fits in just like that. And the seat bottom, the seat cushion. This one is not in the greatest of shape, but it'll have to do. And you can see the deck. The deck on these things is made out of magnesium, and you can see we've got some holes in the deck, some cracks in the deck. It's missing that little access port there, and that little access port is so that you can either engage or disengage the four-wheel steer. I do believe. This hole right here in the deck was for access to weapons mount, which this one does not have. So yeah, the deck it's got a big patch there, and you know, it looks like it's seen better days. We did end up getting, that was one thing that Chuck was really good at, is manuals. So we've got manuals. The Dash 10, which is for the that would have been the operator's manual, and then the Dash 20, which is organizational maintenance, which would have been stuff that would have been done by your motor pool, parts manual. And then the Dash 34, which would have been your higher up maintenance. This goes into a lot more detail, you know, tearing apart transmissions, rear ends, and things like that. And that's all none of that is done on the organizational maintenance side of the house. This one is important here. This is the lube order. So this tells where and what type of lubricants to use. And that's just for the motor. So, at any rate, we've got manuals for it. So, and because I don't have a whole lot of experience with these things, these manuals are going to come in handy. And he also liked to reprint manuals too. So, we've got two fairly complete sets of manuals for it. One of the things that I'd noticed before is the support for the steering wheel here and the steering column is that bracket has all busted loose, so I'm going to have to make a plate to go over top of this to remount that support. Okay, one of the things that I had been told when I picked it up was that it was out of oil, so we're going to check that right now. And it does not look like it's out of oil, but it looks like it's a quart low. And the oil is really dirty, so it's going to need an oil change for sure. Okay. In order to change the oil, we are going to have to pull these, well, 3 bolts to get this engine cage down out of the way. And we will pop the drain plug and drain it. and I think we've got some. I think I've got some oil filters for it somewhere, because it's a common oil filter with something else. I don't remember what, but I do believe I have an oil filter for it. So we'll do an oil change on it and get it up on jack stands and get the wheels off of it, and or at least go ahead and crawl underneath it and take a look and see what we can see. All right, well, we're gonna start taking a look at the underneath the front end here. Okay. All right, I see what that is. That is this strut right here, and this pin. This locks out by pulling this. This locks out the four-wheel steer. They took and removed the four-wheel steering on these in later models, because guys would get going too fast and they'd flip them. Okay, it looks like we got some pretty significant leaks there. Not so bad on the other side, so I think we will go ahead and I think we'll go ahead and get the pressure washer out here and pressure wash this down real good. The underside, well, yeah, you can see where the deck had had a big chunk removed from it. It doesn't look too bad up front here. Tie rod ends don't look bad. Looks like we got some leakage here from the front end, so we are going to have to definitely check all the fluid levels. But like I said, we really don't have. There's not a whole lot to these things. So let's go ahead and get this thing up on jacks and we'll get this thing up on jacks and get the pressure washer over here. Okay, now that we've got it up on jacks, I was told that it had some bearing issues. So we're going to check the wheels here now that they're off the ground. And yeah, we got a real problem here. That one is bad. So this one is also bad. So I don't know if this is just tie rod ends or if Well, that's wheel bearings as well. Now, this one here looks like the wheel bearing's okay on it, but we got some loose stuff on the steering too. And that, I'm not sure if that is tie rod ends or what that is right now. Well, let's take a look. Okay. That is a loose. Oh, the nut is loose. So it looks like we're gonna go ahead and go through and pull all of this stuff apart. And at least tighten it all back up, and hopefully we're not going to have to buy any new parts, because this one here is she's going to try to sell it. Chuck's widow is going to try to sell it. So what I'm trying to do with it is trying to get it so that it is sellable, so that she can get the most amount of money for it. Okay, now we're going to get the engine cover pulled off, and take a look at the engine compartment here. It looks like we've got, yeah, we got some hose clamps that are loose for the air intake. We've got to get that tightened up. Looks like the throttle cable is, everything's working right there. Now this is actually the generator here, or not generator, excuse me, the governor. And so I think probably the next step is to get some fuel in her and get some oil in it, and see if she'll fire up. All right, folks, we're back at it. We've waited until the sun's gone down a little bit. We're going to get these wheels off and see what we can do about getting the getting it cleaned up. Okay. That's on there pretty tight. Looks like we're going to have to get something to persuade that to come loose. There we go. Maybe. Not a whole lot to these things. It's a bolt, basically welded, tack welded to the back of this flange. And these tie rod ends seem to be okay. One on the other side, though, is not. And all of these wheels, which are supposed to have 5 studs on them, only have 4 or 3 of them. So that's definitely something that we're going to have to fix. But Yeah, we've got a completely trashed tie rod there. And you can see a little bit more about how this thing goes together, or how these wheels go on here. Yeah, all the tie rod ends are, I think, pretty much trashed. And then this one over here, this one here is pretty trashed too. This would definitely not be good for high-speed running. So, and you can see all of the bolts on this side here have all broken loose. But this was the side of the wheel that was making the most noise. That was the wheel that was making the most noise whenever it would turn. And then this one's got a pretty healthy leak on it. So we're going to get the pressure washer drug out of the shop and see if we can't get some cleaning done on this before we really get to start tearing things apart. All right, we're gonna spray down the greasy parts. And let this stuff soak for a while we get the water lines hooked up to the pressure washer. Alright. Okay, now the guy that had started the work on this previously, the reason why I have it now is he injured his back and is unable to continue the work. So, but he had drained the fuel tank out, so we're going to go ahead and dump a couple gallons of fresh fuel in it. And see if we can't get it to start. We've got a battery that I pulled out of my truck, or one of my trucks, and let's see if that's got enough juice to get this thing to pop and to run. I don't know how long it's been since this thing has run. There's the start button. Some ignition. I think we may have to give it a little bit of starting fluid. Okay, ignition on, remote start switch on. I think we're going to have to do a little bit of a remote fuel tank situation here. I think it's fuel hose. Makeshift fuel tank. There we go. All right. I got a bad feeling that this thing's been sitting long enough that that it has roached the fuel pump. We're going to go ahead and dump the fuel out of the settling bowl and put some fresh fuel in the settling bowl. And we'll see if we can't get it to at least pump some fuel. All right, let's try this again. This is what happens when you let your vehicle set with this ethanol fuel in it. All right. We have gone ahead and filled up the fuel bowl, the settling bowl. But as you can see, it is dripping fuel bad. We need to get a new gasket for that. That doesn't surprise me. But let's see if we can get her to fire now. There we go. And there it went. Well, we do know that it runs, so I guess we're going to call that a win for right now. We need to go ahead and get some fuel issues taken care of. I don't even know if this is fuel hose. I think this is some vacuum hose that just so happen to be the right size. So let's try this again. See if she'll run. Choke on. I got a bad feeling that we've got a bad fuel pump. I hope not. Well, I think that's gonna call it good for the day. So we're gonna have to. It's a little bit too late to go down and get parts from O'Reilly's or Napa today. So we're gonna have to go down tomorrow and get some fuel hose and probably see if we can't find a gasket for the fuel separator there, the fuel water separator, strainer, whatever, settling bowl, because it's not a filter, or at least it doesn't have a filter element in it. It may supposed to have a filter element in it, but we ain't got one, so We're just going to have to run it the way it is, and probably get some fresh fuel too, because I don't know how fresh this fuel that's in the tank that's in this gas can is. So we'll check back with you tomorrow. Stay tuned. Well, we went down and got some fuel hose for it, and that didn't help anything. We do in fact have a bad fuel pump, so we either got to source a new fuel pump, because you can't just go down to Napa or O'Reilly's or someplace like that and pick up a fuel pump for one of these things. Either that or we'll have to run an electric fuel pump. We might try taking the pump apart, but you guys will have to stick around and watch the next episode on the channel to go ahead and see how we're able to resolve that issue. At any rate, thanks again for watching. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends and about the channel, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.